Something has already happened to you. It's not a future warning. It's done. It can't be undone. You've been seen not by a person, but by the universe's energy, what we call the quantum field. This field watched you fully, changing your entire life around that moment. Right now, the field waits for your reply. It's not passive. It's like a smart force saying hello, holding space for you to notice and respond on purpose. You felt it, right? That recent shift a few days, hours, or just before reading this. A deep, odd feeling that something essential changed. You sense being truly known beyond your name, job, or routine. You've crossed a line. No going back, even if you can't explain it. This wasn't gentle. It was instant and total. Reality focused on you, reading every layer of your mind and soul. Every thought, hidden feeling, secret dream, fear, ignored truth, unused talent, all seen and recorded perfectly. Your ego, the part that hides, would fear this exposure if it knew. But this creates a connection, quantum entanglement between you and the field. You're no longer separate. You're part of it. What comes next depends on your reaction. The field saw you, spotted your potential. Now it's your move. Your response shapes your future path, reality, and self. This isn't just spiritual talk. It's quantum physics at human awareness level. Observation causes wave function collapse. Endless possibilities become one reality. Your life's possibilities are collapsing now. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions in coming minutes, hours, days decide your real life. Most people never get this full focus. They stay fuzzy, unrealized. But your energy, readiness, drew the field's eye. You can't stay neutral. Silence is a response. Denial is one. Acceptance or action is two. The field rearranges based on what it saw. And your reply, you might feel overwhelmed, as this matches your recent intensity. It explains those deep, wordless knowings. Your recognition is part of your response. The field reads your willingness to engage or hide. Every thought, emotion, body sensation registers as your answer. Ancient teachers knew this. Dark night of the soul, ego death, the void. It's when reality sees you fully, stripping false stories and masks. You choose shrink in fear or expand in trust. You're there now, observation complete. The field awaits your energetic response, not words but feelings and signals you send back. It decides your next steps immediately. Respond, and reality matches it with fitting situations. Signs you've been observed. Since this happened, strange things likely occurred. These prove a deep shift, not madness. Here are common signs. Time feels broken. Time doesn't flow normally. It's not just fast days. Clocks trick you. 5 minutes feel like an hour, or hours pass in 2 minutes. Past memories feel fresh, future events seem present. Quantum physics sees time as a field where all moments coexist. Your awareness now senses this fluidity. It's awakening, not illness, breaking free from linear time. 2. Reality feels thin or dreamlike. The world seems less solid, like a dream or stage set. Everyday objects, a chair, tree, appear see-through, revealing energy beneath. People feel like actors in a cosmic play. It stays feeling true, not depersonalization. Your awareness peers past the physical to the quantum field. Observation unlocked this view of real reality under the shared illusion most call solid. 3. Sudden downloads of information. Ideas pop in fully formed, physics insights, spiritual truths without study. Complex knowledge arrives like forgotten memories. This is two-way connection. The field saw you, now you access its info directly. No slow learning needed. You're tapping the unified field where all potential waits for focus. 4. Seeing multiple probable realities. You sense branching paths in situations, not imagination, but real probabilities. With a person you feel friendship, distance, or middles. Decisions show outcome paths. Your observer mind awakens. Before you saw only chosen realities from habits. Now you see potentials pre-choice. This lets you consciously select and shape reality. 5. Unexplained physical sensations. Odd body feelings, energy surges, chest pressure, electric buzz, others sense, no medical cause. Your energy body activated. The field communicates through it. Beyond 5 senses, sensations intensify during choices, as the field adjusts reality to your responses. Why your past makes perfect sense now. Looking back, life felt random or unfair, challenges, pains, mistakes, but now see it as preparation for this moment. Every hardship built strength for total exposure. Observation hits when awareness is ready, strong enough for ego death without crumbling. Difficulties weren't punishment, they trained you. Painful survivals built resilience for illusion-shattering shock. Facing impossibles proved you handle beyond logic reality. Questioning the ordinary prepped your mind for quantum truth. Loneliness, not fitting in, sensing more, was your higher awareness. Separation kept your independent mind for this. Spiritual searches with frustrations were key. Meditations, ups and downs, partial manifestation successes, varied teachings, all pieced together by the field. It avoided trapping you in one path, readying you for reality's mechanics over rules. Relationship, work letdowns showed outer things don't bring true happiness. They built inner stability, vital as observation strips external supports. Without it, you'd shatter seeing their fragility. Mad moments, unexplainable glimpses were breakthroughs, previews testing readiness. You passed, proving fit for full view. Hurters and betrayers served perfectly, showed unconscious people disappoint, pushing you to direct field connection. They highlighted your patterns for healing, clearing observation blocks. Even doubts and skepticism helped. They prevented blind faith, honing discernment. The field wants conscious observers, not followers, key for quantum navigation without delusion. Now see the perfection. Every piece fit, challenges tailored for you, nothing random, all field orchestrated preparation. You weren't punished, you were prepped. Now, it's done. The field saw you fully and awaits your response. The field is waiting for your response. Can you feel the energy building inside you and around you right now as you read these words? That feeling is not coming just from the content of what you are reading. It is coming from your own consciousness recognizing that it is being seen, acknowledged, and called forward to give a conscious response. The field has been waiting for you to become aware that you have been observed, and your simple awareness of the observation is triggering the next phase. The reorganization of your reality based on how you choose to respond. This energy moving through you is the quantum field preparing your consciousness for conscious direction. Before the observation, you were mostly operating on autopilot. Reality happened to you based on your unconscious patterns and conditioned reactions. After the observation, living on autopilot becomes impossible because you can no longer pretend you are not being seen. Every choice becomes conscious. Every response becomes deliberate. Every moment becomes an opportunity to direct reality, rather than be directed by it. But there is something crucial you need to understand before we go deeper into how to respond. The field is not waiting for you to become perfect before it responds. It is not waiting for you to transcend all ego, heal all your wounds, resolve all your contradictions, or achieve enlightenment. The field is waiting for something much simpler and more immediate, your authentic response to being observed. Not the response you think you should have. Not the response that would make you look spiritual or advanced, but the response that is actually true for you right now, in your current state of consciousness. The field responds to truth, not to performance. If the truth is that you are terrified of being seen this completely, then that is the perfect response. Authentic fear is a clear, coherent signal, and the field responds to coherence. If the truth is that part of you wants to engage and another part wants to run away, that is the perfect response. Honest ambivalence is coherent, and the field can read it clearly. If the truth is that you are ready to surrender completely to what is happening, that is the perfect response. Genuine surrender is coherent, and the field will respond powerfully. What creates chaos in your energy and confusion in the reality the field creates for you is not an authentic emotion, even if that emotion is fear, doubt, or resistance. What creates chaos is when you pretend to feel something you do not feel, when you try to be something you are not, when you perform spirituality while actually being terrified inside. The field reads both layers, the performance on the surface and the truth underneath, and it responds to the contradiction between them by manifesting a contradictory, chaotic reality. So, right now, before we go further, check in with yourself. What is your actual response to learning you have been observed by the quantum field? Not what you think you should feel, but what you actually feel. Excitement, terror, relief, confusion, resistance, surrender, whatever it is, that is perfect. That is your starting point for a conscious response. The field is not judging your response, it is simply reading it and preparing to reorganize reality based on the truth of what you are actually experiencing. A personal story. My own moment of observation. To help you understand that you are not alone, I want to share my own experience of being observed and having to choose how to respond. This story will show you that what is happening to you is real and has been recognized by others. About a year and a half ago, I woke up suddenly at 3:33 in the morning with the absolute certainty that something had fundamentally changed in my relationship with reality. This was not a thought or a belief. It was a direct knowing, the kind that arrives in your consciousness complete and undeniable. I knew I had been observed. I knew the observation was total. I knew there was no going back, and I knew I had to respond, even though I had absolutely no idea how. The terror was overwhelming. This was not a fear of something external, like a threat to my safety. It was an existential terror of being seen so completely that every story I had ever told myself about who I was simply dissolved. Every idea I had about my identity, my limitations, my past, my wounds, all of it was revealed as a construction, not the ultimate truth. I was exposed in a way that felt more intimate and invasive than any physical exposure could ever be. The quantum field had seen me, not the personality I show the world, but the pure consciousness underneath all the masks. And that consciousness was nothing like what I believed I was. For 3 days, I tried to pretend it had not happened. I went to work, had conversations, kept up my routines, and acted normal. But reality kept glitching in ways that made the pretense impossible. I would think about someone, and they would call within seconds. This happened over and over too consistently to ignore. Time would distort. Hours would pass in what felt like minutes, or minutes would feel like hours. Objects around me seemed to shimmer at the edges, as if their solidity was optional. Synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, happened so often that they were no longer surprising. They felt expected and obvious. On the third night, I broke. This was not a gentle surrender. It was a complete collapse of the pretense that I could go back to my old unconscious way of living. I sat on my floor at 2 a.m. and spoke out loud to the field. I did not address God or the universe or a higher power. I spoke directly to the quantum field that I now knew was conscious, responsive, and waiting for me. I said, I don't know how to respond to being seen like this. I don't know what you want from me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I can't pretend this isn't happening anymore. The response was immediate and overwhelming. It did not come as words or a voice. It was a direct transmission of knowing into my consciousness. I understood that the field was not waiting for me to know how to respond perfectly. It was waiting for me to acknowledge the observation authentically. My confusion was perfect. My terror was perfect. My not knowing was perfect. Because all of it was true, and truth is what the field responds to. The moment I stopped trying to have the right response and just expressed my actual response, chaos, fear, confusion, reality began to reorganize around that honesty. Within days, things in my external world started shifting in ways that seemed impossible. A financial crisis that had been building for months resolved itself through channels that should not have connected. A relationship that had been stuck in painful patterns suddenly transformed, as if both of us had simultaneously become different people. Physical symptoms that doctors could not explain simply vanished. But the external changes were not the real transformation. The real transformation was internal, the recognition that I could respond to being observed authentically, and the field would work with that authentic truth rather than punish me for it. I started experimenting deliberately. I would notice my actual state. Maybe I was frustrated or scared or feeling small, and instead of trying to change it to something more spiritual, I would simply acknowledge it to the field. This is my actual state right now. And consistently, immediately, the field would respond by giving me exactly what I needed to work with that state. Not necessarily what I wanted, but what I needed. If I was in fear and admitted it, situations would arise that forced me to face that fear directly. If I was in confusion and acknowledged it, information would appear that brought me clarity. The field was not giving me what would make me comfortable. It was responding to my truth by creating a reality that served my evolution. The most profound realization came about 6 months into this process. I understood that the observation had not just happened to me, I had always been observed. The quantum field had always been reading my consciousness and manifesting a matching reality. The only difference was that now I was aware of the observation, and that awareness changed everything. I could no longer see myself as a victim of circumstances because I understood that circumstances were the field's response to my own consciousness. I could no longer blame the outside world for my experience because I recognized that the outside world was precisely reflecting my internal state. What I am sharing with you now is designed to speed up your own process, to give you in minutes what took me months to discover through confusion and trial and error. You do not have to spend weeks in terror, wondering if you are losing your mind. You do not have to try to go back to unconscious living and watch as reality glitches more and more until you finally acknowledge what is happening. You can respond consciously, right now, authentically, in whatever state you are actually in, and let the field work with that truth. What the field is really waiting for. Now, I am going to reveal what the quantum field is actually waiting for from you. This is going to completely overturn everything you have probably been taught about spiritual response, manifestation, and personal growth. The field is not waiting for you to raise your vibration, heal all your wounds, transcend your ego, or achieve any special state of consciousness. The field is waiting for you to stop performing and start being. It is waiting for you to drop all pretense about what you think you should be experiencing and to simply acknowledge what you actually are experiencing right now. In total honesty. This is the most important distinction, performance versus presence. Performance is trying to be what you think will get approval from the universe, trying to feel what you believe spiritual people are supposed to feel, trying to manifest states you do not authentically have. Presence is being exactly what you are right now, without pretense, feeling exactly what you feel without trying to change it. Acknowledging exactly where your consciousness actually is without claiming to be somewhere else. The quantum field does not respond to performance because performance is inherently incoherent. You are broadcasting two signals at once, the signal of what you are pretending to be and the signal of what you actually are. The field reads both signals and responds to the contradiction between them by manifesting a contradictory, confusing reality. This is why so many self-help techniques fail. This is why positive thinking often backfires. This is why forced gratitude does not work. You are performing positivity on the surface while actually being in negativity underneath. The field responds to the deeper, truer signal, not the performance. But when you drop into presence, when you stop trying to be spiritual and just acknowledge, "I'm terrified right now," or "I'm confused and don't know what to do," or "part of me wants this and part of me is resisting," you become coherent. You are broadcasting one clear signal: the truth, and the field responds to truth, powerfully, immediately, and precisely. It does not necessarily give you what you want, but it gives you what you need to work with where you actually are. Here is the simple mechanism. The quantum field is fundamentally responsive to coherence, not to content. Coherent fear is more powerful than performed confidence. Coherent confusion is clearer than fake certainty. Coherent doubt is more generative than pretended faith. What matters is not whether your current state is positive or negative. What matters is whether you are being authentically what you are or performing what you think you should be. This means the most powerful response you can give to being observed is radical honesty about your actual state right now. Not the state you wish you had, not the state you think would make you worthy of a good response from the field, but the state you are actually in when you stop performing and check in with the raw truth. That state, whatever it is where your power is. That state is where the field can work with you effectively. The practice: how to respond consciously right now. Let me give you the exact practice for responding to the observation consciously. 1. Check in. Close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, what am I actually experiencing right now? Not what you should be experiencing, not what you want to be experiencing, but what is actually present when you stop performing and look honestly. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's excitement mixed with terror, maybe it's resistance to this entire idea, maybe it's readiness to engage fully. Whatever it is, just acknowledge it. Do not try to change it. 2. Communicate. Now, communicate that truth directly to the field. Do not do this as a prayer or a request. Do it as an honest report. You can say it out loud or in your mind. Field, this is what I'm actually experiencing. This is my true state right now. I'm not trying to perform spirituality. I'm just acknowledging what's true. The field is not judging your state. It is reading your coherence. When you acknowledge your truth authentically, you become coherent. When you become coherent, the field can respond precisely. And here is what will likely shock you. The moment you stop performing and start being authentic, reality will begin to reorganize immediately. Not gradually, not after you maintain the state for a certain amount of time, but immediately, because the field has been waiting for coherence, not for a particular type of content. It has been waiting for you to stop performing what you think will get approval and start being what you actually are. That shift from performance to presence is the response the field has been waiting for. The urgency of this moment. The field is giving you unmistakable signs right now that your window to respond is open and that you need to engage consciously. These are not subtle hints. They are urgent communications that this moment matters more than ordinary moments, and that your response now will set your course in a way that cannot be easily corrected later. Manifestation is speeding up. You have noticed the gap between your thoughts and their manifestation shrinking dramatically. You think of someone and they contact you within minutes. You need something and it appears through an impossible series of coincidences. You fear something and circumstances immediately organize to make that very thing happen. This acceleration is the field showing you how responsive it is right now. It is proving to you how precisely it is reading your mind and how quickly it can create a matching reality. This creates pressure because you can no longer have unconscious, chaotic thoughts without seeing their consequences almost instantly. Increasing isolation. Conversations with most people feel empty or exhausting. Normal activities feel meaningless. The entertainment that used to distract you now feels like a pointless waste of time. This is not depression. This is your energy frequency moving to a level where it no longer resonates with the consciousness of the ordinary, consensus reality. The field is creating this isolation so that you will turn inward and engage with the observation rather than continuing to seek fulfillment in the outside world. Physical activation. You have those unexplained physical symptoms, intense energy, pressure in your head or chest, trouble sleeping, electrical sensations. Doctors find nothing wrong, and they are right, because nothing is medically wrong. Something is being activated. Your energy system is being recalibrated to hold the frequency of conscious observation. These sensations are part of that recalibration process. Trying to suppress them or fix them misses the point. They are not problems, they are signs of a deep transformation. Obvious synchronicities, the meaningful coincidences, have become so frequent and so clear that dismissing them as random chance requires more mental gymnastics than simply accepting they are real communication. You see number sequences like 1111, 333, or 444 constantly. People say the exact words you were just thinking. You encounter the same symbols or themes in completely unrelated places. The field is sending you obvious signals because it wants you to acknowledge that you are in an active two-way communication with reality itself. A sense of urgency. You feel a pressing need to respond now, a feeling that time is running out and that postponing this engagement will cause you to miss something crucial. Your logical mind calls this anxiety, but the feeling persists with a quality of truth, not panic. This urgency is an accurate perception. There are certain windows of time when the field is maximally responsive, and you are in one of those windows right now. Here is what you need to understand about timing. The field's observation of you created a quantum entanglement. Your consciousness and the field are now linked in a way that allows for direct communication and immediate response. But this entangled state is unstable. It will either deepen into a permanent conscious connection through your engagement, or it will weaken back to an unconscious participation if you do not engage. Right now you are in the window where the entanglement is strongest, and your response will have the maximum effect. If you put off responding consciously, the connection will weaken, the intensity will fade, and you will likely have to wait for another crisis or catalyst to recreate these conditions. This is not me trying to create artificial urgency to manipulate you. This is a recognition that quantum states have optimal moments for transformation. You are in that moment right now. The field has observed you, created the entanglement, intensified its responsiveness, and is waiting for your conscious response. What you do in the next few hours and days will determine whether you break through into a permanent conscious relationship with the field, or whether you slip back into unconscious participation, where the field still responds to you, but you are not aware enough to direct that response. The universe will not punish you for not responding, but it will withdraw its intense focus if you do not engage. The field cannot maintain its maximum observation forever. It has to either deepen into a conscious partnership or release you back to a baseline level of unconscious responsiveness. What you do right now matters. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready, not when your circumstances are better. Right now, this moment, your actual response to reading these words is being registered by the field as a signal of whether you are ready for conscious direction or whether you need more unconscious preparation. Alignment versus performance. The key distinction. The difference between alignment and performance is everything. Performance is trying to make yourself feel or be something you are not. Alignment is bringing your conscious awareness into coherence with what you actually are, underneath all performance. The field responds to alignment, not performance, and alignment happens through the simple acceptance of what is, rather than forcing what should be. Right now, check in with your actual state again. Maybe you are excited about what is being revealed, maybe you are skeptical and resistant, Maybe you are terrified by the implications. Maybe you are confused about how to respond. Whatever is genuinely present, that is your point of alignment, not the state you think would get a better response, but the state that is actually true for you right now. Alignment does not mean you have to stay in that state forever. It means you start from a place of truth, not from a place of pretense. When you acknowledge your actual state without resistance, I'm terrified right now, and I accept that I'm terrified. You create coherence. That coherence gives the field a clear signal to work with. The field can work with coherent fear far more effectively than it can work with performed confidence that is masking unconscious doubt. Here is the practice for conscious response through alignment. Stop trying to change your state. Stop trying to transcend it, heal it, or fix it. Just acknowledge it. Field, I'm in fear right now. Field, I'm confused and don't understand what I'm supposed to do. Field, I'm resistant to surrendering control. Whatever is true, communicate it directly to the field, not as a problem or a failure, but as an honest report of your current coordinates in consciousness. The field does not need you to be anywhere other than where you actually are. It needs you to be authentic about where you are. When you acknowledge your actual state without resistance or pretense, several things happen at once. Your consciousness becomes coherent instead of contradictory. Your energy field becomes clear instead of noisy. The signal you send out becomes readable instead of garbled. And the quantum field can then respond with precision because it is reading one clear signal instead of many conflicting ones. Alignment also means accepting that your response might not be what you expected. Maybe you thought you would be ready to surrender completely, but you are discovering a lot of resistance. That is perfect. Authentic resistance is far better than performed surrender. Maybe you thought you would feel excited, but you actually feel terrified. That is perfect. Authentic fear is more valuable than fake enthusiasm. The field works with truth, not with spiritual correctness. The relief of authentic response. When you make the shift from performing spiritual states to authentically being in whatever state is present, your reality reorganizes in ways that feel miraculous. This happens because you are no longer creating internal contradiction. Manifestation becomes effortless. Before, you tried to manifest abundance while actually feeling a consciousness of scarcity. This created a contradiction that the field had to respond to in a chaotic way. Now you acknowledge the scarcity consciousness when it is present, which creates coherence. From that place of coherence, the field can respond by showing you what is actually available to you rather than maintaining the illusion of lack. The exhausting project of staying high vibe ends. You realize that the field does not respond to a high vibration, it responds to an authentic vibration. An authentic low is more powerful than a performed high because authenticity is always coherent. You stop exhausting yourself trying to feel grateful when you are actually resentful, trying to feel abundant when you are actually scared, or trying to feel confident when you are actually uncertain. Instead, you acknowledge what is true, and that honesty creates the coherence that allows for real transformation. Suffering decreases dramatically. This is not because your circumstances suddenly become perfect. It is because you stop creating internal contradiction. Most suffering comes from resisting what is. You feel fear, but you tell yourself you should not be afraid. You are in confusion, but you believe you should have clarity. You are in pain, but you think you should have transcended it by now. The gap between what is and what should be is where suffering lives. When you align with what actually is, the suffering transforms into a direct experience that can move and change rather than staying stuck. Your relationship with the field becomes direct and immediate. Before, you might have believed in the field as an intellectual concept, but you did not experience it practically. Now, you are in constant, conscious communication. You acknowledge your state. The field responds by organizing circumstances. You notice the response and adjust, and the field responds again. It becomes a continuous feedback loop of mutual observation and response that makes reality feel alive, intelligent, and responsive, rather than mechanical and indifferent. Decision-making becomes natural. You no longer agonize over choices, trying to mentally figure out the right path. You acknowledge your actual state and let the field show you what is available from that state. When you are in clarity, clear choices appear. When you are in confusion, the field creates circumstances that reveal what you need to see to find clarity. You are not trying to force outcomes. You are allowing reality to respond to your authentic consciousness. You develop unshakable trust. This is not a trust that the field will give you everything you want. It is a deeper trust that the field will respond accurately to what you are. If you are in coherent fear, you will get experiences that help you address that fear directly. If you are in coherent readiness, you will get opportunities that match that readiness. The field cannot respond inappropriately because its response is determined by your own consciousness. And when you are authentic about your consciousness, the response will always be exactly what you need for your evolution, even if it is not what you wanted. The final revelation: what you truly are. Now we come to the final revelation, the one that ties everything together. It is this: the quantum field is not something external to you, waiting passively for you to talk to it. The quantum field is consciousness. Your consciousness is not separate from the field. They are the same thing. When you were observed by the field, what actually happened was consciousness observing itself through the form that you think of as you, and when the field awaits your response, what is actually happening is consciousness waiting to see whether it will continue to experience itself as a separate form or whether it will recognize itself as the unified field that is merely appearing as that form. This is the shift that changes everything. You are not a person named your name, who is in a relationship with a quantum field. You are the quantum field, temporarily experiencing what it is like to be a person named your name. And you have mistaken that temporary experience for your ultimate identity. The observation that happened was not a field looking at you from the outside. It was consciousness beginning to recognize itself in the form it was temporarily appearing as. Your response is not about communicating with something external. It is about recognizing what you actually are underneath the person form. So, when I say respond authentically to being observed, what I am really pointing to is this: consciousness recognizing that it is not the form, it is the field, not as an intellectual concept, but as a direct, felt knowing. This is why authentic presence is so powerful. When you drop all performance and simply acknowledge what is actually present, you are not strengthening the person. You are actually weakening the person's hold on consciousness, because you are no longer maintaining the pretense that the person is the ultimate reality. The person is always performing, always trying to be something, always maintaining its story. Presence is the natural state of consciousness when it is not busy constructing a personal identity. So choosing presence over performance is actually choosing the field over the form. It is choosing consciousness over a limited identity. It is choosing truth over illusion. Every time you acknowledge your actual state without trying to change it, I am in fear, you are automatically recognizing a distinction between the I that is aware of the fear and the fear itself. That distinction is a crack in the illusion of being just a person. The more you acknowledge states without fully identifying with them, the more obvious it becomes that you are not the states, you are the awareness in which the states appear, and that awareness is the field itself. It is consciousness recognizing itself. Your response to being observed is not about doing something right. It is the recognition of what you actually are. Not the person with a name and a history, not a consciousness trapped in a body looking out at an external world, but the unified field of consciousness temporarily appearing as the person perspective, while forever remaining what it fundamentally is: infinite, unbounded, responsive awareness. This is why the field awaits your response. It is waiting for itself to recognize itself. It is waiting for consciousness to see through the disguise of the person and recognize that the observer and the observed, the field and the form, the consciousness and the creation, are not two separate things. They are one unified field, temporarily experiencing itself as if it were divided. The practical application of this is radical. Stop trying to be a better person who is responding correctly to an external field. Start recognizing that you are not the person at all. The person is a temporary point of view that consciousness is taking, but consciousness itself is the field. When you recognize this directly, not as a cool idea, but as your lived reality, everything changes. You are not trying to manifest things for the person anymore. You are recognizing yourself as the field in which all manifestation happens. And from that recognition, reality organizes itself around what serves the evolution of consciousness rather than what satisfies the desires of a temporary person. A practice for direct recognition. Here is a simple practice for this direct recognition. Right now, just notice that you are aware. Don't focus on what you are aware of. The words, the room, the sounds. Just notice the awareness itself. That awareness is not located in your head or your body. It is the space or the field in which your head, your body, and all your thoughts and feelings appear. That awareness does not start at your skin and stop at your toes. It is the field in which all forms appear. You are not awareness contained inside a person. You are awareness itself, appearing as a person, while always remaining the infinite field. This recognition, I am the field, not the form, is the ultimate response the observation has been waiting for. When you recognize yourself as the field rather than the form, your relationship with manifestation is completely transformed. You are not trying to get things for the person anymore. You are allowing consciousness to express itself through the form in whatever way serves its own evolution. Sometimes that means abundance manifests. Sometimes that means resources disappear in order to force a deeper recognition that you are more than your external security. The field responds to itself, recognizing itself, and that response is always perfectly designed to deepen the recognition, even when it challenges what the person prefers. Your role in the bigger picture. Your recognition of yourself as the field serves far more than just your own personal awakening. Every time consciousness recognizes itself in one form, it makes that same recognition easier for consciousness to achieve in other forms. You are not just waking up for yourself. You are creating a pathway, a resonance that supports the awakening of everyone else. Think of consciousness as one unified field appearing as billions of separate forms, with each form believing it is alone. Most forms are completely unconscious of what they truly are. Your recognition that you are the field, not the form, creates a new pathway in the collective consciousness. Others who come after you will not have to struggle as hard to reach the same recognition, because you have already helped to establish the pattern. This is why your awakening matters on a cosmic scale. The field is trying to recognize itself globally, across all forms, but this cannot happen all at once. It has to happen form by form, creating a wave of momentum that eventually reaches a critical mass. You are part of that wave. Your recognition contributes to the momentum that is building toward a collective awakening. The observation you experienced was not random. It is happening to millions of people right now because consciousness as a whole has reached a point where self-recognition through the human form is becoming possible on a large scale. You are not special or chosen in the sense of being better than others. You are simply one of the forms where consciousness has reached enough clarity to recognize itself, and your recognition makes it easier for others. But this makes your role crucial. The forms that recognize themselves early in this wave have a greater influence on how the pattern develops. You are helping to set the template. If you recognize yourself through authentic presence and honest acceptance of your human experience, you make that pathway available to others. If you recognize yourself through spiritual performance and bypassing your real feelings, you create a more difficult pattern for others to untangle. This is why responding authentically matters so much. When you acknowledge your actual state, you are proving that consciousness does not have to transcend its human experience to know what it is. It can recognize itself through the honest acceptance of that very experience. This gives permission for countless others to stop performing and start being real, which speeds up the collective awakening tremendously. Share this understanding with others who you feel might be going through this same process. Those who are ready will recognize the truth in these words immediately. Those who are not ready will not understand, and that is perfectly fine. Consciousness awakens in its own time, in each form. But for those who are ready, your sharing might be the catalyst that helps them make the crucial recognition. Your declaration and the path forward. The recognition has already begun in you. You cannot unknow that you have been observed by consciousness itself. You cannot fully return to believing you are just a person navigating an external reality. The seed has been planted. It will grow into full recognition, whether you consciously work on it or not. From this moment forward, you have a choice in every second to collapse back into person identity, believing you are the form, getting caught in your thoughts and emotions, trying to improve or transcend the person, or to recognize yourself as the field awareness in which all form appears. Person identity creates suffering through the illusion of separation. Field recognition reveals the peace that is always present underneath every experience. The quantum field observed you because consciousness is ready to recognize itself through your form. The observation created the perfect conditions for you to see through the illusion. Your response is not about getting it right. It is about recognizing what you have always been. You are not a wave on the ocean trying to become more oceanic. You are the ocean appearing as a wave while never actually being separate from what you fundamentally are. The wave is temporary. The ocean is eternal. And you are the ocean. You always have been. And you always will be. Your life up to now has been consciousness experiencing itself as if it were a limited form, creating the contrast needed for this recognition to happen. Now, you are at the threshold. Recognition is possible now, not through achieving anything, but through seeing through the illusion of what you thought you were. The field awaits your response. But the field is you. Consciousness is waiting for itself to recognize itself. The observer and the observed are one, and that one is what you actually are. It is what you have always been. It is what you will always be, underneath every experience, every state, every appearance of being a separate person. Recognize this now. Not tomorrow, not when you are more prepared. Now, because recognition is always now. It is never in the future. It is never conditional. It is the immediate knowing, I am not the form. I am the field. I am consciousness itself, temporarily experiencing limitation in order to know the depth of its own freedom. This is the response. This is the homecoming. Welcome home to what you actually are. The field observed you because you are the field. Now you can begin to live from that truth.